Hello, ghosties. I'm Chance Lee,
And I'm Amanda McAvoy.
and this is That's So Gothic, a movie podcast about girls, guys, and haunted houses. And you know, Amanda, I have varicose veins and I hate to shop at the mall, but now I can pull out my Visa, dial the phone. It's great.
Carter Hayes has come to San Francisco. He will search for the perfect apartment. He will find the perfect landlords. And now, the game begins.
I'm your new tenant. I'm Carter Hayes.
Melanie Griffith, Matthew Modine, and Michael Keaton.
Mr. Hayes? Mr. Hayes?
Pacific Heights.
Released in 1990, Pacific Heights, obviously, was directed by John John Schlesinger,
A lot of
and,
S's.
and written by Daniel Pine. That one I can say.
Mm-hmm.
It stars Melanie Griffith and Matthew Modine as Patty and Drake, an unmarried couple who buy an expensive house they can't afford.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Keaton as Carter Hayes, their bad tenant, and a shit ton of saxophones on the soundtrack.
Yes, so many.
And this is the story of becoming a landlord and frankly getting what you deserve. I
Yeah,
feel like all landlords deserve this treatment, but
I agree. I
if you're
agree.
if you're looking to just charge people to live,
Yeah. Well,
I
and
have no
also to not
sympathy.
just live, but to pay for your life. I saw so many reviews for this movie that were like, wow, a movie that finally made me feel bad for a landlord. Incorrect. No, maybe Melanie Griffith, because she didn't really sign up for exactly what happened. But overall, still screw them.
Yes, they
Yeah.
asked for this.
Yes. Yeah. I am victim blaming.
So this movie was a modest success. It made $55 million against an $18 million budget. Critics were very lukewarm on it. 55% critical tomato and 48% popcorn bucket.
Really? So
Mm-hmm.
pretty pretty much 50-50 across the board almost, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And speaking of 50-50, Ebert gave it two out of four. 2 out of 4
Wow.
stars. I really liked his review of this movie. He had a lot of smart things to say about a movie that really isn't that smart,
Mm.
but I liked the way that he boiled the movie down. He said that the rhythm of the movie is established early and repeated until it gets predictable. Keaton commits an outrage. Modine starts to froth at the mouth. Griffith tries to restrain him. Modine goes too far. Keaton wins another victory.
That's it. That's the movie.
He said there's one sequence that does work, and that's the one where Griffith figures out a way to get revenge on Keaton. I won't reveal her methods, but they're fun. What isn't fun is the movie's pacing, which takes us on a leisurely tour of its horrors instead of socking us with them.
Mm. Yeah. I can agree with that. Melanie Griffith's part is she's, in my opinion, the most enjoyable part of the movie. So I did really like her little escapades towards the end of the movie.
I like her. We this podcast stands Dakota Johnson, Melanie Griffith's
Yes.
daughter.
Yep.
So we have to love Melanie as well. I
Hmm.
could see a remake of this with Dakota Johnson.
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. We stand nepotism.
Yep,
We
and the tenant just keeps putting limes around the house, like, that's how he's torturing her.
limes in really high places because she also can't jump.
That's right, she can't jump.
Really bad at jumping. So there's just limes outside of the cabin.
When she jumps in Madam Web, that's funny.
So funny. I love her so much. Someone recently I felt really stupid after saying it and like really embarrassed, but someone asked me like, "Oh, who would you cast as yourself in a movie?" And I overconfidently said Dakota Johnson, like very highly thinking of
Yes.
myself. But I was like, I feel like we just have very similar sense of humor. I love her cadence. Anyways, we shouldn't be just raving about Dakota Johnson because her mother is also incredible and she's incredible in this.
That's right. I do love Melanie Griffith. We'll talk about
Yes.
her momentarily. What
Hmm.
were your overall thoughts on this movie?
I feel like I've been watching in general a lot, not a lot, but more 90s thrillers that I have than I have in a while recently. So this one kind of got a little, lost in the shuffle. It's not particularly exciting. It wasn't necessarily bad. I think there were some good performances. We'll get into it, but I love the house. I love the setting. Um, there were some pretty like funny, kind of weird choices that they made. There were some very confusing choices. Um, but overall not bad, but just kind of meh. Yeah. Had you seen this movie before?
I had seen it before and I
Yeah.
remembered very little about it.
Yeah. I probably will not remember a ton of it even now. Like having just watched it maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I can remember bits and pieces and they will come up, but um yeah, it's overall just kind of a meh.
It's a mad. This is like the 90s studio version of a Netflix movie. Like it was just like
Yes.
mid-tier filler.
Yes. Did you ever I never watched it, but I remember when it came out that Netflix movie with Brenda Song where she like loses her memory and he
Mother of Macaulay Culkin's children, Brenda Song.
yes, she like loses her memory and then her husband picks her up from the hospital, but slowly it seems that it's like revealed that he's not her husband or something. I think he killed her husband. I don't know. But it gives me very similar vibes to that, where it's like
Okay.
very melodramatic, way more dramatic than it needs to be. Like, you're right. The Netflix comparison is like spot on.
Yeah. This needed more drama for me. I do think it
Mm,
was just a little flat. It's so flat that when Michael Keaton does go into full murderous rage in the climax, it
hmm.
feels out of place. He hasn't killed
Yeah,
anybody up until that point. He didn't even
right.
kill the cat. Like there's a scene where they make it seem like he's going to kill their cat, but he doesn't kill
Yes,
the cat.
yes. That
He's
this is
just
a
kind
movie.
of obnoxious.
Yeah, this is a movie where I think I talked about it on the last episode where I tracked does the dog die to make sure that the cat doesn't die. And so I was very pleased, even starting this movie, that the cat does not die. Um, but you're right, it is very out of place. Yeah, it's a strange movie.
It's a strange movie. The two protagonists are very boring people.
Mm,
They
yes.
named the cat Kitty.
Kitty. Which okay, I my cat growing up was named Kitty. To be fair, to be fair to me and my family, myself, I should say, me and my brother wanted to name it Meowth because of the Pokemon. And this was the 90s, and my mom didn't understand what that meant. So when she got the cat registered, she just put down meow. So she thought that was what we said. And so we just ended up calling her Kitty. So she was Kitty for all 23 years of her life.
I love that.
Yeah, but she could have been Meow.
She could have been Meowth. Well, y'all were children.
Yeah, she could
These
have been a wisecrack in New York accent talking.
Meowth is an icon.
I love Meow, but yeah, I won't judge them too harshly on the kitty. Um, but they are very unremarkable. I mean, they kind of go through this emotional thing that, I don't know, whatever, but um I think it was supposed to like garner sympathy for them. I didn't care.
No, I
I
didn't
didn't care
care.
about them. I care again, like we'll get into it. I cared a little bit more about Melanie Griffith because she at least is, I don't know, I just like her. But yeah, it was tough to care about anyone.
I do like Melanie Griffith. One of my
Mm.
favorite movies is Milk Money with Melanie Griffith,
Mm, yeah.
where it's called Milk Money because the kids use their milk money to see boobs, which have milk in them. Like it's just
Of
a genius.
course.
It's a genius title. Ed
Oh,
Harris is giving peak daddy in Milk Money.
hmm.
Ah, so good. She's great in it as a hooker with a heart of gold, as they
Oh,
all are.
yes. It's
And
so fun. So fun.
have you seen did you see Milk Money?
No, I did not.
Ah, Milk Money, just as a tangent, Milk Money is like a studio executive literally just like threw darts at a board and made the movie, but it somehow works.
Yeah.
Like the first third of the movie is like teen sex comedy because it's like
Mm,
young boys just they're horny and want to see boobs. Ah ha
yep.
ha. And then the second third of the movie is like Three's Company, misunderstanding romantic comedy because
Yeah.
Melanie Griffith thinks Ed Harris knows she's a hooker, but Ed Harris thinks she's a math tutor. And so he's
Oh,
like, "You're so patient with your clients." And she's like, "Oh, I know. It's, sometimes they just need to learn, blah, blah, blah."
yeah.
And it's just so funny. And then the last third of the movie is an action movie because her pimp, whose girlfriend is played by Anne H, comes
Oh,
to find her because she doesn't know it. But when she took the car, the all her pimp's money was in the trunk, and he
oh
thinks
no.
she's stolen it. But the car is just broken down on Ed Harris's front lawn. So he comes to get it and shows up at the school dance. The pimp does to get the money back. And there's a car chase and an explosion. Like
Incredible.
the one person who calls Melanie Griffith a slut gets
Uh-huh.
punched in the face and like knocked into the punch bowl.
Hell yeah.
Fucking love Milk Money. Anyway, Melanie
Hell yeah.
Griffith, icon.
Yep.
Matthew Modine is like mayonnaise in human form. No,
Yeah,
sorry. I actually like mayonnaise.
yeah.
I don't know. He's like Miracle Whip. Miracle Whip.
Yeah, he's like iceberg lettuce. Whole pieces of
Mm,
like not even shredded. Like do you put like I if I eat iceberg lettuce on my sandwich, it has to be shredded. He's
mm-hmm.
like when you get like one of those big slices and it's like way too
Mm-hmm.
cold and wet.
And it's the white parts of the lettuce.
It's
It's
the
not even the
white.
green parts of the
Yeah.
lettuce.
Right. And sometimes it has that weird like red discoloring, like right
Yeah.
on the stem. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
him. I don't know if I feel like it's one of those he has a name that I recognize. Like I'm like, "Oh, Matthew Modine." Like, yeah, he's like people talk about him. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything. I think
It,
his big thing Platoon?
oh, was he in Platoon? I've actually never seen Platoon.
I haven't either. That's why I feel like is that his thing?
I mostly know him from this really bad action movie from the 90s called Cutthroat Island, where Gina
Ooh.
Davis is a pirate and it should be good, but
Yeah.
it isn't. Probably because
Oh,
Matthew Modine's in it.
probably.
Now that I'm older, then I go back and watch it, I bet I'd say, he's the problem.
He's the problem. No, I think he would what I'm getting him confused with, or what I'm getting confused is he was in Full Metal Jacket, which I had seen a long
Um,
time ago, but I don't remember him in it. I don't know who he
I,
was.
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, I I got nothing on him.
Looks like he's also in Any Given Sunday, which was directed by Oliver Stone and has Al Pacino. I haven't
Oh,
seen that, but it's the same screenwriter as Pacific Heights.
interesting. That's a
Yeah.
football movie?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I know. I know. As much as I love Al Pacino, I don't know if I'll ever sit through Any
Yeah,
Given Sunday.
yeah. That sounds like a tough one.
Um, we also have Michael Keaton, who we've talked about on the podcast before,
Yes.
Batman.
Yep.
Um, he in the So we talked about Batman Returns on the
Uh-huh.
podcast, i.e., the best superhero movie ever made. Penguin's Jesus story, Penguin's Jesus
Yes.
year. In the first Batman that Tim Burton did, Michael
Mhm.
Keaton gets to be weird in this one part near the end of the movie, and it's kind of like he's doing that, but for a whole movie in this one.
Yeah. He is. He really plays up his intensity, which I think is good for this role. He really plays up his eyebrows and his forehead and his
Mhm.
hairline. He's got a
Mhm.
great upper half of his face. He really knows how to
Mhm.
work with it. Um, I mean, I really like Michael Keaton. I I don't think I realized how much of a when I was like looking into sort of everyone in this movie, briefly, I don't think I realized how much of a comedy he actor he really was before Batman.
Mm. Oh, yeah. He was
Um,
Mr. Mom.
yeah, and
Mr. Mom. Amanda, Mr. Mom, because the man is raising the kids while
that's
Terry Garr has a job.
that's
Hilarious.
crazy. Wow. How did people function in the 80s?
They didn't if the woman got a job. They fucking fell apart, is what happened.
Everything, gender roles be damned. Michael Keaton is here.
Ugh.
Well, but yeah, I think it was kinda funny, like, seeing that because I was like, "Oh, I feel like that makes a lot of sense with his facial expressions."
He has some very unique facial
Yes.
expressions.
Yeah. He has I won't get into it now because 'cause I'm sure it'll come up, at least in one of my memorable scenes, but there's one particular part where his face really does some kooky shit, and I love it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. He's great. I love Michael Keaton. Did you
I
see
do.
Birdman?
I hated Birdman.
Really? Oh, I
Yeah.
liked it. Yeah.
I wanted to walk out of Birdman, but I was actually seeing it with a couple friends, and
Yeah.
by the time it was over, I was like, I kinda wish I had just sat in the lobby for an hour. I
Wow.
really hated that movie.
I was thinking I need to rewatch it. I mean, I will rewatch it eventually because I remember really loving it. Wow.
I appreciate your love for it, and you should continue
Yep.
to love it.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. Was it Michael Keaton? Was it the fact that his costume covered up the top part of his face?
That maybe I don't know, because I
Mm.
mean, I like a lot of the actors in that movie. I
Yeah.
liked Emma Stone and her big eyes,
Uh,
but to me, it
Cheyenne.
was just Old Man Yells at Cloud, the movie, for, like, 2.5 hours. It was just like old guy whining that young people are doing shit.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. I will say that's probably one of my favorite genres of old guy, so,
Okay.
that's probably why I liked it so much. I love talking to an old guy and them being like, "Oh, these newfangled phones," and I'm like, "I know, right? They suck. They're the worst. Oh, I'm getting all these emails. Horrible.
Oh,
Just
that is
delete your
horrible.
email. You
Yeah, I
don't need it.
agree.
You don't need an email address."
No, you
Yeah.
don't need an email address, you don't need voicemail. Anything with mail
Mm-mm.
in it, gone.
Get it out of here.
Yep,
That's what feminism wants.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, Michael Keaton, what a treasure.
He is a national treasure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Also a treasure, speaking of feminism, Laurie fucking Metcalf is in this movie. Um, she I'm aghast that you have a blank expression. Um,
Uh,
she was Aunt Jackie on Roseanne. She is Lady Bird's mom in Lady
oh,
Bird.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's the attorney. She's the attorney that they hire.
Oh my goodness, I knew see, she is like an actress where it's like, I know who she is, but and like I recognized her in this movie. I was like, I know that is an actress I know, but I didn't put it together.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that she has nothing to do in this movie, but
No.
she looks hot. She's got, like, the
Mhm.
power suit on for the attorney. She's the only
Yep.
person who has, like, a lick of common sense in this whole
Yes.
movie. So, I just
Yes.
I'm glad she's there, and then the script, like, 2/3 of the way through forgets she exists, but
She's
it was
gone.
fun
Yeah.
while it lasted.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I do love her in this. Yeah, she has great power suits. She really commands a courtroom. She should do more procedurals. She reminds me a lot of like a Joan Cusack. Like,
Yes.
someone just like really reliable and you love watching and engaging with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're right. She was like this very refreshing part of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was a
she's
palate cleanser.
cameo from Tippi Hedren in Pacific
Yes.
Heights, the star of the birds and Melanie Griffith's mother.
I was just gonna ask if she was her mom. I thought she might have been. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you were saying, real quick, back to a side note, when you were talking about Milk Money and it's about a woman who absconds with a car full of cash. I was thinking of Psycho, and then you said Anne Heche, and then you have Tippi Hedren who is in The Birds.
The Hitchcock
So
connections.
yes, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of we're putting the strings together on the bulletin
Mm-hmm.
board. We're doing that.
A couple of reviews I read for Pacific Heights did use, I think Ebert as well used the word Hitchcockian.
I could see that. It's like a boring Hitchcock movie.
I think Ebert compared it to his like post Psycho movies that were all kind of
Mm,
bad.
yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
And then the director did so I can't, I'm really sorry to this man. I can't say his name. John S.
Yeah.
He had directed the classic Midnight Cowboy, which I've never seen,
Oh, me neither.
and the very less than classic Next Best Thing, starring Madonna and Rupert Everett from
Oh,
2003.
I didn't know Madonna was still acting in the 2000s.
That was the movie that no, because she hadn't married Guy
The
Ritchie yet.
director. Yeah.
Yeah, because those movies basically were like the death knell for her. But if she hadn't
Right.
married him, this would have been her last movie. She's awful in this.
Mm, okay.
This is a terrible movie. I saw it in the theater. I don't know why.
Right.
I remember thinking it was so bad. Anyway, the movie was so bad it killed John S. It was the last movie he directed.
Poor John. Wait,
Yeah,
did he actually die?
he did. Yeah, he died shortly after The Next Best Thing. This was that was the best thing. This was the next best thing, and then he went to he went to the best thing in the sky.
R.I.P.
Yeah. So he had a
Poor guy.
weird filmography.
Yeah. No
No
consistency.
common
Yeah.
thread.
Right. Wow. It was just too much for him to handle.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
sure, but yeah,
R.I.P. to that man.
RIP. Well, let's hit the gothic elements
Hmm.
for Pacific Heights. Our gothic films have four common themes: a girl who is
Hmm.
normally in a situation beyond her control, the guy who lured her there, a iconic house, and a haunt of some sort. So, Amanda, who's our girl?
Right? See, this is a movie where it's like, is there a girl? Because they were
Mm.
all kind of complicit
Mm.
in being fuckassery. Because Melanie Griffith, I don't even know their character names.
Patty.
Melanie, Patty, is that her name?
Patty.
Patty. Okay. Patty, like, convinces Mr. Modine, Duke,
Drake.
Drake, Drake. I knew it
What
was
a
something like
name,
hard with a
Drake.
D. Yeah. Um, she basically convinces him to buy the house and to go into debt. Like, I think she's the one who suggests, like,
Mm.
getting, you know, like, oh, we can recoup it with rent, blah, blah, blah. And then he pulls the fuck assery move of letting Mr. Keaton, Hayes, I think I got that one. I don't know. Uh,
Carter Hayes.
Carter Hayes, yes. He's the one who lets him move in without doing any sort of background check. He just is like, "Yeah, I'll take." He's so impressed by this guy's convertible in San Francisco, where everyone has a fucking convertible. Actually, that's not true. Only idiots do because it rains 300 days out of the year there. But he's like so impressed by him that he lets him move in. And then of course you have Carter Hayes, who
Without even
is
a deposit.
out even a deposit. And they had a great tenant already lined up, a black doctor, because you find out later he's a doctor.
No, he's the police captain.
The police captain, that's what it is. I was like, I knew there
Mhm.
was something where he was like in trouble
Authority
or
figure.
injured. Yes. Um, which also like really shows the state of San Francisco. If your police captain still has to rent,
Mm,
yikes.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm all for defunding the police, but like, yeesh. Um,
The ones that they keep, they at least deserve a living everyone deserves a living wage.
exactly, exactly. It's like my like, knee-jerk reaction to defund the police and like my passion for everyone living equitably is really at war there. Um, like, so, I feel like Melanie Griffith would be sort of like your de facto girl. I mean, she's literally the girl. She is probably the one who is the least at fault, if you could. Who's the girl? Is the lovely Asian couple who's living there.
Yes.
When all of this goes down, I can't remember their names. They are so sweet.
He's
I
just doing
love
tai
them.
chi in the rain.
They're just like this older, sweet Asian couple, and they eventually have to break their lease and move out because they can't stand all of the racket anymore.
And the
And
roaches.
and the roaches, they're the girl.
That's
That's my
true, they are.
answer.
That's true.
Yeah. Do you have an opinion?
I agree. But I
Mm.
would also, yeah, the closest we get is Patty, the Melanie
Mhm.
Griffith character, 'cause she also is the one that has to she's the only one who can maintain a level head and get them out of the situation, which is a very gothic girly thing to do, is to take things into her own hands and break the, trap that they're in.
That's true. That's a very good point. She is the only one who except for, the lawyer who has rational thought.
The men in this movie all suck. Well, no, the
Yes.
police captain's nice, but they do
Yes.
they do bring him in as, like, stereotypical angry black man at first,
Yes.
which is a little
Yeah.
annoying,
Right. And
and
then he's
then
even still pretty angry when they, meet him later, but
he does have the good line though where he says, "Bet you wish you'd rented to the black guy."
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And because Matthew Modine's character, Drake Goodman, his last name is Goodman.
Ugh,
Get out of here. Yeah, he says that he could be one of those minority scam artists. What does that even
forgot about that.
mean?
Was that ever happening?
What does that mean? What does that mean? I have a lot to say about what was going on. This is 1990, so I have a lot to say about what was going
Mm,
on in the 80s, but we'll get to that.
okay.
Um, so yeah, our guy, I okay, who do you think the guy is?
Um, I mean, you could really, again, toss up between Drake and Hayes. They're both just whipping them out, measuring them, just being dickheads. I mean,
Yep.
obviously, Hayes, I do not feel bad for the landlords, but Hayes is a special breed of terrible character of just likes to fuck up people's lives. Like that does suck.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I guess I would lean towards him, but what is your take?
I I lean towards Drake Goodman because
Mm,
it if we're approaching this from our, like, classic but off kilter gothic
yes.
sensibilities, it's usually the husband,
Yep.
and not always on purpose.
Mm,
Sometimes he gets them into a bad situation because of his own inefficacy
yeah.
and impotent rage,
Yeah.
and that's I feel like this man, it's all his fault. I am blaming the victim, and it's all his fault.
His
He
fault.
lets him excuse after excuse after excuse. "Oh, his bank just had a mistake. Oh, so
Right.
and so." He calls his employer and gets mad at the employer for, like, forgetting their own employee instead of
Right.
accepting the obvious, which is that he lied.
Yes. And I guess too, if we're again, like using the Gothic touchstone, which is Crimson Peak. It's like she is I can't remember her name, the girl.
Mhm. I remember
Uh,
the actress, but I don't remember her character name.
no idea. I'm sure it's like Anya or something. I don't know. And then the guy, you know, is Tom Hiddleston.
Mhm.
And then I guess you would say so Tom Hiddleston is Drake. And then like the supernatural spooky ooky is Hayes. So it's
He
like
he can be the
he's
haunt.
bringing her into this situation. So I think that's actually a very good point.
Yeah, I think that's my theory.
Yeah, I like that.
And then, as you mentioned, we do have a really nice house, though.
Really nice house. It's a real house.
Yeah, so
I
at least the exterior is real. I don't know
mm,
about the inside, but the exterior is on 19th Street in Potrero Hill in San Francisco.
yes. I did you look it up on Google Maps?
No.
They did paint it, which so it's blue in the movie, and now it's yellow. And usually I love a yellow house, but I have to say I'm like a little sad because I just love
Hmm.
the original blue. I just think it's so lovely. But it seems to be taken really good care of. Um, I'm really happy to see it hasn't been like, demolished. I think it was built in 1890 is what I saw.
Wow.
Like it's like
Wow.
a vintage, you know, really nice some oil magnate, some gold rush person probably built it,
Right.
in California, but it's really lovely.
They're renting their apartments for $1,000 a month in 1990. That would be approximately $2,240, which I'm sure is still a steal for San Francisco.
Yes,
I mean, it's probably like $4,000 for that to rent one
minimum.
room in that house
Yeah,
now.
yeah. That's wow. I mean, and I will say, I obviously the price now is absurd, but even for back then, it seemed like a lot what they were paying for the house. I think they paid like $750,000
Mm,
for it, and then they ended up, spoiler alert, at the end, they had an offer for like 850,000,
mm.
which again, you could not find a house a quarter of that size in San Francisco for that price, and I'm sure that house is now worth $20 million.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But it still felt, correct me if I'm wrong, but that felt like a lot for the 1990.
For the time, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So, I don't know. In my opinion, that's not really a price you take a chance on.
Foolish decisions they made early on.
Right. Did we ever find out what they do for work?
That was literally where my
She
brain was going.
she is she like out of work or something? I feel like they mention it a couple of times.
She's like an injured horseback rider or something. Like I don't understand her career trajectory, but since she's been injured, she's just teaching writing lessons to children. And they have this scene where she says, "Now, why are you the one who's in charge?" And the kids in unison say, "Because we're smarter." Really bizarre scene where a bunch of kids, a chorus of children is saying they're smarter than a horse.
My God, I forgot about that.
That
Yeah.
and that's all we get, that's all she says.
Yeah.
He's in an office with big windows.
Oh, okay. He's just a suit.
Yeah, we know nothing about these people in
Right.
this movie other than he has really bad judgment, anger
Mhm.
management issues,
Mhm.
and yeah, they're bad with money.
Yeah. They're not married, which also seems because that's like a weird sticking point is like Hayes at one point says like, "Oh, something about your wife," and he's like, "Yes, she's not my wife." Um,
Very weird narrative choice. I don't
yes.
understand why they couldn't just be married.
Right.
It would
Very
also
weird.
give her more, like, investment in this.
Yes. Right.
Part of me is just like, "Girl, leave. Just leave.
Leave.
Leave this angry man with his angry tenant and let them
Yes.
just fuck
duke it
each
out.
other and
Yeah.
ride your horse out into like Nevada.
Yes. Go to like the Manson farm or something. You're
Spawn
not
Ranch.
needed here. Yeah. You're not needed here. Just get out.
It made
Yeah.
no sense that they weren't married.
It was weird. I feel like it was just an added point of tension and maybe a way to, I don't know, make him seem like even more of a dick, but they didn't have to work that hard.
No. Yeah, that was very bizarre.
Mhm.
So, last but not least, we have our haunt. Could
Mhm.
be Carter Hayes,
Mhm.
but it also could be Ronald Reagan.
I see it. Yeah.
Just because. So I was like, what is happening? What is happening in this movie? So I had a chat with an AI
Mm.
and I said, what was going on in the 80s that would like lead people to believe that tenants' rights were something to be afraid of and a
Mm.
bad thing. And one of the things AI suggested were the increasingly conservative policies of the 80s and people believing that government overreach and too much regulation was harmful. And that, to me, compared with like Ronald Reagan being obsessed with like welfare queens and people trying
Yes.
to get off rent free, I
Be
feel
the
like
minority scammer.
that's the minority scam
That's
artist
the
right
minority.
there. Oh my God, we solved it.
Yes.
So like that is what's feeding into this where like people feel like even though I don't know what, probably like 2% of the American public is a landlord, like
Right.
there's no reason for us to feel any sympathy for these people. But
Yes.
the same way many people vote conservative, even though it harms them economically, they
Mhm.
seem to think that like giving tenants rights is a bad thing. And
Right.
if you do, you end up with Michael Keaton releasing roaches into your house.
Yes. That is really interesting context. And I'm really glad you researched that because I think that that gives a really strong foundation for at least why this movie exists.
Yes, I was just like,
Yeah.
why does this movie exist? That's
Right.
really what I was like, why does this movie
What
exist?
happened?
I just what happened here? And so
Yes.
yeah, so that I was just like, okay, because
Mhm.
it's not single white female, it's not
Mm,
the same as those other movies where you end
right.
up with, a tenant from hell, roommate from hell, boyfriend from hell.
Mhm.
It's different than that. And yeah, it's this, what if I'm trying to make money? What if I'm trying to
Yeah.
charge someone to live and
Yeah.
they don't let me just milk them?
Right.
Taken
Yes.
to the it's not even taken to the extreme. Like
Right. Yeah.
he has that guy
Sledgehammer.
who's like, who is that guy? That kind of
Oh
hot
my
guy that he's living with.
yes. I think it's his brother?
Okay.
I brought up I think when I texted you and asked you if you wanted to watch this movie, it was because I started watching it on Tubi, I'm pretty sure, Tubi or Canopy. Um, and the movie starts with a picture of child Michael Keaton with a monkey.
The monkey. The monkey.
Right. And because I
I,
think it's child the reason I bring it up is because I think it's child Michael Keaton and child the other guy. I think the other guy
mhm.
is his
Yes.
brother.
Yes.
Um, the fuck is the monkey? Fuck is the
What
monkey?
is up with the monkey?
Where did the monkey go?
Is the monkey also his brother?
What?
Like, was he raised with a
By
monkey?
monkeys? Is this a Tarzan story?
I'm
Is
like,
that why
what?
he acts this way?
So we learned that he's just a spoiled trust fund baby who
Right.
has no access to his money. Are we supposed to infer that his family was so rich that they also just like had a chimp living with them?
Could this be a commentary on Melanie Griffith's family? Because her whole family is obsessed with animals. Because have you ever heard about that movie? Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on it, but it's the most dangerous movie ever made. Like there's a documentary called The Most Dangerous Movie Ever Made. Hold on.
No.
Let me look this up real quick. I think I'm cooking here. The most dangerous movie ever made. So the movie is called Roar. Actress
Roar.
Tippi Hedren and her family set out to make a unique film by spending 10 years living and filming with 150 untrained lion, tigers, and assorted wild animals. Despite good intentions, over 70 cast and crew were injured making this film. And Melanie Griffith is frequently filmed with these wild animals. So is this like a meta commentary on their family and like he's like the amalgamation of their bad intent? Is this an apology?
What? Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or did they just have an extra monkey because the family is obsessed with wild animals and they decided to take a picture with one? Maybe they just had, maybe it's two boys that they just knew. Maybe that's the only picture they had lying around of just two random boys because they're this family that is obsessed with wild animals and that's like her cousins or
Melanie was like,
brothers
I've
or
got this photo I can bring in for the insert shots.
yes, yeah, and it's just these two boys with a monkey because we're obsessed with monkeys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, their family is weird, which explains so much about Dakota Johnson, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, look into that movie. It's like 70 people were injured. I think someone died.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna look that up.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, what the fuck is up with the monkey? What the fuck is up with the brother? There's the weird girlfriend is also involved, but
Sort
like
of.
kind of not.
Yeah. That they
He
they
gets
bring
beat.
her in, like,
Yeah.
they have Beverly D'Angelo take her top off for no
Yep.
reason, like, 2 minutes into the movie,
Right.
and then she shows up, like, 15 minutes into the movie, and then we never see
Yeah.
her again.
Yeah, because he gets the shit beaten out of him in the beginning because it's like her boyfriend or something. I don't know.
I think he's her boyfriend. He's running the same scam where they're probably trying to live
Oh,
rent free or they've swindled someone, and then
okay.
he gets beat up for it.
Yeah. Very strange. I feel like they just were trying to get another character in there. I don't know.
The script needs some work.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so where were we? Is this the haunt?
Where I was talking about the haunt being Reagan, and
Oh,
then
right.
the monkey got brought up somehow, which
Yes.
always throws me off. I had blacked out on that in from the
Yeah.
first time I watched it, but I
Yeah.
immediately Googled like monkey Pacific Heights, and the
Right.
only things I see are like every like 7 years on Reddit, someone's like, "Why is there a monkey in Pacific Heights?" And like
Right.
no one responds.
Yes. And then because I don't think I circled back to it when I texted you and was like, can we watch this movie for the podcast? It was because I was like, what happens with this? I'm so intrigued. I do feel like the only reason I watched this movie is because of the monkey, so it's kind of genius in its own right, really.
I mean, it could. It's better to not know about the monkey, and
Mm,
instead of learning too much about the monkey, like in Nope, when we just learned so much about that
mm.
monkey, it's just
Yeah,
really stupid.
right, right. Yeah,
But yeah, they never bring it up. We meet his mother at the end, and I was like, is someone gonna say, and what's up with the chimp?
right. Yeah. Like it's in the passenger seat of his red convertible.
Like they should be Tippi Hedren should have the chimp should be like picking things out of her hair while they're like interviewing her.
She has like this really beautiful fur stole, and they're like, "Oh, what is that? Oh, it's your pet chimp." And
That
then it
that was my
causes him to
third son.
spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my real son.
Like, did rich people in the 80s just have monkeys? I don't
You think it's like a
understand.
big thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. So weird. Dakota Johnson would know.
I'll DM her on Instagram.
Please do. What's up with the monkey in
What
Pacific Heights?
the monkey in Pacific Heights?
The
We'll see if
next
she
time you see your
responds.
mom.
Yeah, I've had no luck DMing celebrities for the podcast, but maybe this will be the one.
Hold on.
This will be it.
We'll scrub any mention of your inability to jump if
Yes.
you answer us about the monkey.
We'll say white girl can jump if you
She
can.
can jump. Actually, I saw her jumping. It was incredible. Incredible. She's so good at it, actually.
She could have been an Olympic hurdler. She was so good at
Yes.
jumping.
Yeah,
Yes.
we will go on record and say whatever you need us to say, girl.
Yes,
Just
about
tell
your
us that.
jumping. Uh, that's the Hollywood secret. What's up with the monkey?
What's up with the monkey? I need to know.
Well, we have a monkey,
Mhm,
and we have a guy, a girl, a house,
mhm,
sort of a haunt. The economy.
mhm. The economy.
The economy's haunting us. Do you think this movie is so gothic, goth-ish, or no gothic?
I'm gonna go with the no gothic. Yeah.
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
I think
Mm,
so too. I when you said let's watch this, I was like, oh yeah, I can see us making a case for that being gothic because I had seen it before.
mm,
But then, yeah, the more I thought about it, I'm like, I don't
yeah.
know if it's just because the movie's kind of bleh.
Yeah.
If it was more melodramatic, maybe it would have been gothic. If I'm just not sure
Yeah.
because we've
There's
had
just
plenty of
something.
gothic movies without a supernatural element, but
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they invite it into their home, and that's
Mm,
different because that is something that sets this apart from
right.
the other gothic things we've talked about.
Maybe just the fact that they're landlords.
And we don't
Landlords are not
care.
gothic.
We don't care.
Landlords
And
are
like
cool.
you're not really, I mean, yes, they're trapped because like the economic situation, but
Mm,
they could just go somewhere else, like stay at a
yeah.
Motel 6 for a while
Right.
until
Exactly.
Laurie Metcalf gets, the case settled.
Right. Yeah. There's so many, and I think it's the nature and the purpose of this movie. There's so many frustrating parts that you're just like, oh my God, just walk away. But again, I think it's the nature of the movie is that you want to feel frustrated and kind of trapped. But yeah, I just think it's not very gothic,
Not very gothic. Well, that's the verdict.
the verdict.
Not gothic.
Not gothic.
So my memorable scene was the monkey popping up. Are there any other memorable scenes you wanted to talk about?
Well, I was gonna bring up I feel like the only campy part of the movie, which is the end where Michael Keaton dies. Because I'm very confused about how it happens because I kind of checked out at this point. But what's his face? Dante, not Dante. What's his name? Derek,
Drake.
right? Is under the floorboards
Right.
and like getting mice or cockroaches to the face. It's kind of funny. Or is that this part or is that another part? I don't know. It's a memorable scene, but I don't remember when it happens. He's getting
Fair.
hit in his face, and it's quite funny. Um, but then when Michael Keaton dies, Melanie Griffith, I don't know if she pushes him or if he trips. All I know is that I looked up and Michael Keaton is impaled on two like plumbing, what's the word I'm looking for? Like tubes. And
Mhm.
it takes him so long to die. And I think you brought this up in the Cape Fear episode. Um, because we brought up the episode of The Simpsons that was like a spoof on Cape Fear.
Right. Yeah, but I thought I had seen Cape Fear, but I really had just seen The Simpsons a lot.
And then because I think it's in that episode of The Simpsons when tried Sideshow Bob, like, I don't think he actually dies, but he like, quote unquote dies, and he like makes like a and then also Robert De Niro does in Cape Fear. And I think that Michael Keaton in this movie gets an honorable mention in that realm of grotesque dying faces. He's just like blurbering, his eyes are really big, his tongue is going. Again, like the only campy part of this movie, and it's such a joy to watch. Um, Two big ass poles sticking out of him. Melanie is just standing there like, ooh. It's
She's
quite
like, I just
delightful.
redid the floor.
She's like, "Oh, the next tenant is gonna have to clean up blood."
She's like, "We got the realtor coming in 3 days."
Yeah, she's gonna do the landlord special and just paint over it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that is, the like I said, by that point I had checked out, but that caught my attention.
This movie would have been better served if they had let Michael Keaton just pop
Mm,
off more.
really ham it up. There is
Mhm.
actually one more memorable scene is the one where she goes down into the basement to switch, well, I guess it's the basement, but it's also the garage. Um, 'Cause and that's why I think maybe they did film in the house, because if you look at the house, it's really kind of strange, because it's like this old beautiful Victorian house, but then there is sort of this concrete structure next to it that I think is the garage slash
Mm.
basement, and because it's all on a hill, because that's what San Francisco is. Um, but anyway, she goes into this to, like, flip a breaker, and Michael Keaton is just sitting in his convertible in the garage, just smoking, staring at her, and it takes her so long to do anything about it. Like, she's just kinda like, I think it takes her a while to notice, and then when she does notice, she just kinda stares at him for a while, and then she goes upstairs and she tells Matthew Modine, like, "He was looking at me," and he's like, "It's fine.
It's fine, men
It's
look.
fine. Let him look. Let him take a gander. He's just enjoying his convertible. It's
Add it
raining
to the
out."
list of things that they let fly by.
Right.
He stares at you, he hasn't paid any money, he changed the locks, like, these are all things that he's done.
Yes. He's hammering, he's upsetting the Asian neighbors, whatever.
I did think of one. It's not really a memorable scene, but one
Mm,
more thing that I wanted to talk about, which is that the director, whose name I can't pronounce, I'm so sorry to this man, John S., was actually one of the few openly gay film directors at the time. And there are like there's the weird, like angry looking lesbian couple that watches them from like across the street. There are
mm,
two gay men who come to check out the apartment
that's right.
early on. And then in reference to the guy who we think is his brother, I feel like they say at some point, they say, "Is he your partner or is he your lover?" or something like that.
Yeah, right.
And so there is this little queerness sprinkled in, but
Yeah,
which is more than you get in most movies, especially in 1990.
right.
So the local
Yeah.
color, but
Was San Francisco, I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, was it like the gay haven that it is now in 1990?
right.
'Cause
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
'cause
I
I
guess
mean,
it
that ended up,
probably I guess so. I must have been
yeah,
getting there by then.
right. Because I guess that in and of itself is kind of a little gay shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish that there was more sexual tension between Matthew Modine and Michael Keaton. That would have been good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. We do need a remake of this.
Yes. I
This
feel
movie
like
has
actually,
potential. The idea
I
has
was gonna
potential.
say, yeah, I feel like this actually would do really well. I think it would do really well as like a Netflix original, and then they crank up the campiness.
Yes.
Like if they could do that, that would be good. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be great still, but it could at least be good.
Be watchable.
Be watchable. Yeah. So anyways, if you're all set with Pacific Heights, what have you been enjoying lately, Chance?
I feel like I say a lot of times not much, but not
Yeah.
much. But I ended up randomly putting on this documentary on Tubi
Mhm.
that instantly sucked me in. It's called I Think We're Alone Now. And
Ooh,
it is about two people who are obsessed with the 80s singer Tiffany, who sang I Think We're Alone Now.
yeah.
And it's head spinning. It is the best type of documentary
Mm,
where also the worst type of documentary from two different ways because you get people who I'm not they don't have enough self-awareness, I feel like, to realize how they're coming across. So in a
mhm.
sense, it's a little exploitative. But
Right.
from a filmmaking perspective, you get these two people who just can't stop talking and don't mind everything being filmed. Like, it's
Yeah.
just fascinating. So there's 2 people, and I gotta do some more research and figure out how they met these people, what's going on. But, one of the people is a gentleman who had been in the news for stalking Tiffany multiple times. Um, his name's Jeff Turner. And then the other one is a person who was born intersex and,
Mm.
lives as a woman, Kelly McCormick, and she is also obsessed with Tiffany. And you learn a little bit about their backgrounds and their mental health.
Okay.
So for instance, Kelly was in a bicycle accident and was in a coma for like multiple days, weeks.
Wow.
And when they woke up, one of their first songs they heard was Tiffany's "I Think We're Alone Now." And
Oh,
now they seem to be like obsessed with her.
I kind of
And
get that.
they talk about, not ever feeling any sort of reciprocated love in their life. And it's really sad. But then there's
Mm.
also the parts where like she's kinda such a dork, like, she thinks she's the most athletic person on the planet, and she goes,
Yeah.
I'll show you how fast I run," and then she just takes off running, and it's not that fast, but they
Oh,
film her running, and then she comes back, and she says, "That was only, like, 7% of how fast I can run."
of course it was. And I'm assuming she's like a grown adult.
Yeah, they're both she's in her 30s
Okay.
and Jeff Turner is in his 50s, I
Mm.
believe. He, has Asperger's
Okay.
syndrome and so does have this fixation, which a lot of people on the spectrum have.
Yeah.
And I I don't believe he ever comes across as dangerous in any
Mm.
way. One of the reasons why they thought he was dangerous is because he was waiting for Tiffany with a sword. Um, but but he says that in Japanese culture, if you gift someone a katana and like 5 white orchids, it's the nicest thing that you can give them. And so that's what he wanted to give
Oh.
her was a katana and 5 white orchids. Um, but then they talk to his friends. He has a couple of friends, and one of
Mhm.
the friends, and I hate to use this word, but I don't know what else to say, seems completely normal
Mm.
until all of a sudden he starts talking about how when he met John and John started telling him about the government's mind control devices and he just was like wow and he had to tell everyone like I can't believe what I just learned about this and that they have these devices that they can program to different people's frequencies and then you can influence their behavior telepathically and then they show John putting on this helmet and he's tuned it to Tiffany's frequency and he's like communicating with her. This is after they've talked about how he's on a fixed income because he gets disability and they say he
Yeah.
wears these ratty clothes all the time because he spends all of his income on these fucking like electromagnetic devices
Yeah. And katanas.
and like this movie's only an hour long, which is genius and
Really?
it's fascinating. I highly recommend it. It's
Mhm.
on Tubi. It's really good. It's really well made. Like they show the funny, weird stuff these people do, but the
Right.
movie isn't making fun of them.
Yeah.
And it does a really good job of treading this line, like I said, between kind of exploiting these people, but also humanizing them. Like
Right.
it is intended to humanize them and to show this obsession that they have. And they
Mm.
talk to other people. There's other people that they interview very briefly at some of the Tiffany shows that talk about how much they love Tiffany and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
They just haven't made it their life's goal. Um,
Right.
but like, what's the line between fandom and obsession? And It got me
Right.
thinking of that fucking Tegan
I was
documentary.
just gonna say, it's so interesting that you're recommending this because that was like 2 episodes ago, you brought up the Tegan and Sarah documentary, and I
And
would be really curious to, like, watch them together.
and if people aren't listening to this or didn't listen to that one,
Mhm.
Tegan is vegan. I just have to say it again. I have to get it out there.
Yeah.
I have a very small platform, but my platform is Tegan is vegan.
That's
That is,
yeah.
I'm a one issue candidate, and that is my issue. Tegan is vegan.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, thank you, Amanda, for listening to me talk about Tiffany, and Ghosties for listening to us talk about Pacific Heights. You can listen to us wherever fine podcasts are uploaded. You can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you can share us with a friend, especially one who knows why there's a monkey in Pacific Heights.
Get the word out.
We need to know.
That's You can stay on your position of Tegan is vegan. I will take up the mantle for what the fuck is the monkey. That'll be my single
It's
issue.
Tippy's monkey. Yours is it's Tippy's monkey.
It's Tippy's monkey. I really think it is. I really, really do think it is now.
One of the boys was really just Dakota Johnson. She had a very masculine face and page boy haircut as a child. Yeah.
Yeah, she seems like she would be a tomboy, but also if
She
she was a tomboy, she could probably jump better.
Mm, you're
I
right.
think, yeah. Dakota Johnson, that's exactly the kind of thing that I will stop saying if you just tell us,
Just tell us why there's a monkey.
was it your friend? I just want to know.
I'll add this to the list of things I randomly think of every like 3 or 4 years in Google.
Right.
And one day we'll have an update.
Yes, I'm so excited.
All right. Well, until next time, stay ghosty. Bye bye.